You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at rahardin.com. That's the World Wide Web at rahardin.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Alright folks, well, welcome back. Guess what? It is Friday night. It is December 30th, 2016, and we are back live right here on the Robinson and Wright Show. Now, we're going to be doing an abbreviated show this evening. We're only going to be doing 1 hour, because as soon as we get done with this, we have a special New Year's Eve episode to get recorded. So, this was one of the only times that we could get everybody together to get it done. But you'll have us here for about the next 60 minutes. That, of course, does include a little bit of commercial breaks here and there. And, of course, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Dan Wright. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you? And we have one more day of 2016.
Dude,
one day left.
Can I just say 2016 needs to die in a fire?
Yes, you can say that.
Okay, well, good, because I kind of just did. But, I mean, seriously, 2016 just, that dumpster fire that we've been talking about for the last year, 2016 just needs to jump in it, get it over with, just put itself out of its own misery. Because it has sucked. I'm so glad it's almost over.
Yeah, me too. It's going away. I had a friend of mine that kind of dropped out of kind of everything for a while, for a couple days, and I actually messaged her and said, you really need to at least hop in tomorrow so that we can kick the shit out of this year as it goes away. And she LOL'd me back. I mean, and she feels the same way. That's why she's taken a couple days off. She's just like done with everything. And everybody is. This year just needs to disappear, and it happens tomorrow night at midnight.
I'm seriously ready to kick it in the Jimmy and light it on fire. Because it deserves it. So, since this is the last show for Robinson and Wright for 2016, what were some moments that stood out for you this year?
Moments that stood out for me this year. Donald Trump.
Yeah. Cheeto Jeebus.
I mean that seemed to be the major focus of 2016, no matter who you were, was watching this guy go from most people thinking it was a complete joke to most people thinking, well, maybe it's not a complete joke, but there's no way he can win, to winning the nomination, to winning the presidency. Definitely a.
Yeah, I mean,
who would have thought?
Actually,
from the summer of 2015, who would have thought we would be here right now?
No, I mean, and you're exactly right, because how many people that do live radio on a regular basis on this station got it wrong? I happen to be one of them who kept saying over and over again, there's no way this guy's going to win. And he did. I mean, there's no way around it. But one of the things that stood out for me the most for 2016, kind of along the same vein, is the fact that you're not allowed to disagree with anybody anymore. Because no matter where I stand on a topic, even if I'm trying to call it dead center and say, look, and it's just like this whole Russian hacking thing that we said we were going to get into. If I can point out the fact that Putin is an idiot, who is an oligarch, who is basically a power-hungry person, who is not a good person, who does terrible things within the borders of his own country, but at the same time not try to hang this albatross of a hacking incident around his neck. Somehow, I'm evil on both counts, because I'm not wanting to reset with Russia the way the Trump folks are wanting to do, but I'm also not willing to say that the Russians are what cost Hillary Clinton the election, because Hillary Clinton cost Hillary Clinton the election. Nobody made Hillary Clinton put a server in a bathroom. Nobody made Hillary Clinton's staff keep losing their cell phones. Nobody made people associated with Hillary Clinton's campaign respond to emails that were blatant phishing attempts and not pay half attention to what they were clicking on, and suddenly somebody else has your password. That's not hacking. No matter how that information came to light, no matter who did it, that's not a hack. And the only people that are ultimately responsible for that are Hillary Clinton and the people that are around her, not the Russians. But at the same time, because I'm not willing to say that, Russia is this great friend of the U.S., because I've never really believed that they are, then, again, I'm being ridiculed. It's no different than when I try to say, Trump's going to be president. I don't want him to fail, but I'm still going to hold his feet to the fire. I catch flack from everybody for that. Because as soon as I say something positive about Trump, I'm a Nazi. As soon as I say something negative about Trump, I'm a leftist cuck wacko who doesn't deserve to have a radio show.
Well, you know what that tells you, don't you? It tells you that you're right.
This is true.
That's what it tells you. I mean, this whole if I can sit there 1 second and say, wow, that's great. I really like what Trump just did there. But this right here, this was a really bad choice. Oh my God, you are just a leftist. You're just a leftist, liberal. I'll say the word, you're a leftist, liberal cuck. Okay, that's fine. I'm at the point where that's my response. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. I'm holding the soon-to-be president of the United States accountable for his actions like I would any other president. If he was Ronald Reagan right now, I would still scrutinize every decision he made. But it's what we've seen, another big thing for 2016. What we've seen is a carbon copy reversal from 2008. In 2008, you had the Obama bots that Obama could do nothing wrong, say nothing wrong. He was the savior of everything. Well, now you have the opposite end of it, and Trump is the do nothing wrong, can say nothing wrong, savior of everything. It's a mistake happening on the opposite end right now. And I'm not saying that he's going to be bad. He may be. He could. We don't know. He's not even in office yet. He could end up being a great president. I hope he is. Just like I hoped Obama would be, which he wasn't. You know, every president, I hope they're going to be a great president. Trump could come into office and end up being, you know, we don't know. 40 years from now, we could all be going, oh my God, look at what's happened to the country. It's fantastic. He's done an awesome job. I would love for that to happen. Yet, if I hold him, you know, accountable for a decision that I think is wrong, I'm a jerk. We're looking at the polar opposite of 2008 right now. And people need to just grow up and realize you need to hold your elected officials accountable. You don't make excuses for them. That's the problem, is everybody making excuses for the person that they love and admire. You don't love and admire politicians. You like them, you vote for them, and you hope they do what they say they're going to do. That's the way it needs to be. And that's how you are, that's how I am, and that's how a lot of people we know are. And we're just catching heat from it from both sides. I'll take the heat because I like where I am.
Yeah, you know, that's the whole thing with me is I used to get upset about it. Now I really don't, because it just proves to me that, I mean, if I'm catching flack from everybody, then I must be doing something right. Because if all of the extremists on every side of an argument are irritated at me, then I'm obviously doing something right. Because I'm not an extremist. I never have been an extremist. I believe that conservatism works, and I believe that the majority of the country is right of center. But that doesn't mean that I think that we should be so far right that we're basically turning in a circle. And that's part of the problem that we've had for the last several cycles, is we keep going from one extreme to the other. We seriously need to find a way back to the center. And it's one of the reasons why I started the show America Off the Rails, was to point out that if people would just take those 7 hot button issues that we all argue about every single day and set those aside, there's about 95% of things that we're going to agree on. There's about 5 to 6% that we're really not going to agree on, because there are certain people that think abortion is okay. I happen to not be one of those people, but I'm not going to foist my ideals on anybody else, to a point, because I understand the genie can't ever go back in the bottle. But if we can take those hot button issues, set them aside, and focus on fixing everything else, we could probably all get along a lot better than we do. But the simple fact of the matter is the government doesn't want us to get along. They want us compartmentalized. They want us segregated. They want us mad at each other so that we don't talk to each other. And that is what we've seen happen now in spades during 2016. Because, again, you cannot disagree with anyone. Because the moment you do, and I've seen this across the entire spectrum. We were talking about that in one of the groups today of somebody that I used to actually follow quite closely, who basically started taking people apart the minute they said one thing that they didn't agree with. And that is not what this country was founded on. We have always had the ability to disagree and at the end of the day still come together and find a way to get things done. We have lost that somehow, and it's because we have learned how to do nothing but hang on to what makes us different and hang on to what keeps us angry. And we're doing that because that's what the government wants us to do, and that's what our education system wants us to do. Because if we're fighting with each other, then we can't come together. And that's what needs to change between today and January 1st, is we need to remember that first, we are all Americans. The hyphenated American needs to go away. First and foremost, if you were born here or you came here legally and you followed the process, you are an American, and that needs to come first.
Absolutely. That's the whole African American, Mexican American, Asian American, Jewish American. It needs to go away. We're American. Everybody needs to realize that it is a melting pot, as you will, and you're just an American. I mean, I'm of German and Irish descent, and I don't ever remember any of my relatives, forefathers, anybody calling themselves anything but American. They didn't call themselves Irish American. They didn't call themselves German American. They were American. That's the way it needs to be, and we do. You're absolutely right. If you look at what everybody actually believes in, pretty much most Americans agree on just about everything, but like you said, probably somewhere between 5 to 10% of issues. And the government used to be set up, and our representatives used to be able to talk about things fairly civilly. And now it's kind of back to that, but they just don't talk about them. Washington is, the senators sit there and they will sort of argue with each other about things, and they will block things, and they leave there and they all go to the same bar and they drink beers with each other and they laugh about it. They've made a career out of it. That needs to stop. I think you and I even talked, it may have been, I don't know if it was off the air or on the air, but we talked about Joe Walsh, who is a radio personality now and personality, but he was a congressman. And the reason why I really admired him, and I'm trying to follow him again, he really kind of upset me through the election cycle, but I admired him because when he ran for Congress, he ran on, one of his things was, I am going to run, if I get elected, I am going to serve no more than 2 terms, and that's how I think it should be for everybody. And he could have won a 3rd term easily, but he didn't run. He gave it up. He said, no, this is how it needs to be. Congressmen should have 2 terms, and that's what he did. And I always respected him for that. And we need more of that in Washington, because it's just turned into everybody's the same. It doesn't matter. They disagree on, like you said, 5 to 10% of things, but they agree on the rest, and they also agree on trying to make sure pretty much that they all keep their jobs and have a nice long career in Washington, and it needs to stop.
No, exactly, and that's been one of my pet peeves for a while. It's not necessarily that at the end of the day they can put things aside and go to the same bar and talk and chat and hang out, because honestly, in some ways, that actually has stopped. I actually have talked to people here locally that have been in Congress and in the Senate, and they talk about the fact that a lot of times along party lines, they don't even eat in the same places during the schedule. They actually eat in separate areas. They don't talk to each other. They really don't congregate much. So that's not really my issue. My issue is, though, at the end of the day, it's not that they can still talk and hang out and have a good time. It's the fact that it's just like what you were just talking about. At the end of the day, they're not really coming together to find out how to make the country a better place for you and me. What they're doing when they come together is finding ways to hang on to their power. And they've been doing this now for quite some time, and just too many people stop paying attention to it. And one of the ways that they've done that is by nationalizing our education system. Because, now, don't get me wrong, because even as someone who thinks states' rights are a big deal, I think there need to be national education standards. But I don't think it needs to be the under-thumb approach that we currently have, where there's one-size-fits-all education and that's it and that's all you get. Because in a lot of ways, our education system is broken. One of the things that showed me exactly how broken our education system was something that was pointed out to me this week. Because we were talking about, again, in 2016, there was an election that happened the way people didn't want it to happen, and suddenly the colleges were shutting down. They were declaring themselves safe spaces. They were bringing in therapists. They were bringing in free pizza. They were bringing in coloring books, Play-Doh, whatever else these adult people needed to be able to survive. Now think back to about, 30 years ago? Maybe 31? There was a space shuttle that exploded in the middle of a school day. I know this because I was there. We found out about it.
I was in 7th grade, and I watched it on TV in my classroom. and then finished out the school day.
Exactly. And we found out about it on the way home from a field trip, still went home, finished our last 2 classes, or went back to school, finished our last 2 classes, and went home. And even before that, I remember in 2nd grade watching President Ronald Reagan be shot on national TV. They quickly shut off the TV when they realized what was happening, and we took our spelling test. Nobody shut down. Nobody freaked out. Nobody declared anything a safe space. We just went on about our day. And that's part of the problem. We have been coddling an entire generation, and they have no coping skills. This was evident by the fact that their candidate, their beloved choice, didn't win the election, and suddenly everyone started melting down. Now, these are the same people that when Donald Trump stood up on a debate stage and said that he didn't know if he was going to accept the results if Hillary Clinton didn't win, or if he didn't win and Hillary Clinton did, and she said it would be un-American for anyone not to accept the results regardless of the outcome until she wasn't the winner. And then not only did she not want to accept them, neither did any of her supporters. And they shut things down for days. We had people where I work calling in sick because they couldn't cope with the fact that Hillary Clinton wasn't going to be the president. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, the morning after the election, and I wasn't going to be happy really either way. I wasn't going to be. It was whatever to me. I mean, I didn't support either candidate. I woke up the next morning after you and I did radio till, I don't know what time we did radio till 1:30 in the morning, something like that.
It was late.
I wake up to a text at 6 in the morning from my youngest daughter, which everything's cool. We get along fine now, but she was essentially disowning me because I didn't vote for Hillary. And I forced Trump on her by not voting for Hillary. And I didn't vote for Trump either. But she was absolutely, completely, and totally distraught that Trump won and that her father did not vote for Hillary because my vote didn't go against him in her mind. That's what I woke up to. I was like, really? I spent over a year basically completely and totally rallying against Trump, and now my daughter is mad at me that Trump won because I didn't vote for Hillary. That's what I woke up to. And you know what I did? I said, okay, she'll get over it. And I got up, I went out, I got some breakfast, and I went on into work. That's what I did. Because I grew up where, oh, well, that's what it is. I've got my day to get on to.
And that's just it.
My baby girl disowned me. And I was like, oh, well, I got to go to work, take a shower, go get some breakfast, go to work.
And, I mean, that's just it. We grew up in a time where no matter what, you still have to adult.
That's it. You have to adult. I mean, bad stuff happens in your life, but you there's certain responsibilities you have to take and you have to still take care of. It's just the way it is. And even though my daughter was very upset, I will say she did the same thing as me. She went a little crazy on me, but she got herself ready. She ate her breakfast and she went to school. My kids aren't at the point where they just shut down when something like that happens. She was mad at me, but, I think I've raised them right. And I've raised them as, time to deal with it and get on with your day. But so many kids out there, I mean, you and I discussed it, the University of Maryland, where the students want nap zones so that they can take a nap between classes without having to walk back to their dorm. Really? Do you need a nap? I mean, when I was in school, I was hungover most of the time and I didn't need a nap. I dealt with it. Class was something I had to do. when class was over, I'd be able to go in and undo my hangover.
Yeah, the funny thing is, the night you and I talked about that, the very next day I had both both Dave and Bryce on Finding Common Ground, and they had a completely different take on the nap zone thing. Bryce started pulling out all kinds of data about, short naps help productivity and blah, 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 and I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing just seems completely crazy to me. But, I mean, and one of the things that got pointed out to me was the differences in culture. As an example, in Japan, if you are caught sleeping at work, your boss usually sees that as a sign of respect because you were working yourself so bad that you basically passed out at your desk. Here in America, you get fired. So, I mean, I guess it depends on point of view, but the whole idea of, setting up communal nap zones, come on. They're in their teens, their late teens, early 20s. I really doubt they're going to be communal nap zones, if you know what I mean. But we have come up on time for the break. Believe it or not, we're already at the bottom of the hour. Still lots of stuff to get through about best and worst of 2016 right here on Robinson and Wright. We'll be right back here in just about 4 minutes.
Liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services. Nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is Robinson and Wright right here on KLRNradio.com. Hey, Miss Ann, were you listening? I said it right this time. Just kidding. I've been getting some flack because apparently I keep saying KLRN, and there is a PBS station out there somewhere with very similar call letters and a name, so apparently we're getting complaints. So KLRN Radio, remember it, committed to memory. That's who we are. Who cares about some damn PBS station? I'm just saying. All right, so anyway, before we went to break, I actually started catching up on the Twitter feed, and we actually had some feedback. So I actually had somebody ask a question through Twitter. I'm going to go ahead and address it here. So, and you guys may know her. If you're not following along with her already, I do encourage that you do so. Her Twitter handle is at ACMA1967. And Miss Amy, your question before we went on the air, because you had mentioned that we get extremes because people are stupid, and I said yes, but at this point it's happening by design. So your question was, what did I mean by it's happening by design? Pretty simple answer. Government-controlled education. The government doesn't want us intelligent. They want us functionally stupid. One of the things that you'll notice is over the last 30, 35 years, they have stopped teaching critical thinking. Nobody really has the ability to critically think anymore. And this is happening even in institutions such as Harvard and other places where they do big scientific studies. Half of them that have PhDs can't figure out how to properly do the studies anymore, and there are complaints about it all the time because they don't understand that there needs to be a control group and different ways to track the results, and part of that is the flaw of the lack of critical thinking. And it is actually systemic throughout our entire society right now. And that is because in a lot of ways our government does not want us to be able to think for ourselves. They want us to be able to operate machinery. They want us to be intelligent enough to do day-to-day tasks, operate a cash register, whatever we need to do to get through the day. But at the end of it, they still want us dependent on them. And that's been a lot of my problem with our government as a whole for a very long time. And it goes back to what Dan and I were talking about in the beginning of the show, because we have an entire group of people in Congress right now that are doing nothing but trying to find a way to make sure that they hold on to their power base. One of the ways they do that is by keeping us functional, but not give us the ability to really think on our own. And they're doing that in a lot of ways through our education system. So that's just kind of a quick answer there.
Yeah, our education system right now is all about control and keeping the masses. I don't know if I want to say it that way. It's keeping the masses dumbed down. That's what it is. If the masses don't understand how things work, then they're not going to worry about it or want to deal with it, or just going to go along and you vote for candidate A, you vote for candidate B, and that's your only choice, and that's the way it is. Well, it's kind of a monkey wrench has been thrown into all that this election cycle because Donald Trump won the presidency with 3 million less votes. And people don't understand why that happened.
Because they don't understand that we are not actually a true full-on democracy.
That's right, because school did not teach them that. And school did not want them to know that.
Exactly. And that's the important distinction, because it's not necessarily that the school school didn't teach them that. It's the fact that somebody decided that they didn't need to understand that part of it. But let's look at how well that's working. Because the fact that somebody decided that we didn't need to understand what the difference is between an actual full-on democracy and a representative republic like we have here, let's look at how well that's working. Because there are people that are, on the surface, fairly intelligent people who don't seem to understand that the system is working as designed, even if the popular vote and the electoral college vote don't match. Now, I know that historically this is one of the largest discrepancies between the two, but that doesn't mean that it's not working by design. Because if we went strictly by the popular vote, then the only places that the presidential candidates would be going would be California, Texas, Florida, and New York, because it would be the only places they needed to go.
That's right. The rest of the country may as well not even vote. Just look between those 4 states. That's where we would be. And what they don't understand is the system is set up to give those states that are contributing a voice. Every state has its own voice. It's not one big contest. It's 51 small contests, and that's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work. And it's not being taught, and people don't understand it. And a lot of the people that are complaining about it do understand it, but they don't agree with it. Well, tough. If you don't agree with it, then maybe you should move to Venezuela or France or Canada, and maybe you'll be happy with the electoral process in one of those. This is the electoral process here. If you're not happy with it, you don't have to be, but you have to deal with it, and it is the way it is, and it's not going to change. And if it does change, there's a much greater portion of the country that's going to be pissed off than what's pissed off right now that it, quote unquote, didn't work for their candidate.
And I mean, let's be completely real, and this is the part that I think has had me a little upset, because the folks that were in favor of Donald Trump winning this election were making just as much noise about the Electoral College needing to go away before Donald Trump won the Electoral College vote. That's my problem with all of this, is there are just as many people on both sides of the argument that don't fully understand how the system works, but now that their candidate won, they're like, oh, Electoral College is awesome. I mean, Donald Trump in 2012 was tweeting about how
2012
tweeting about how broken the Electoral College was and that it needed to be removed. And now that he's actually won the Electoral College vote, it's working by design. Our founding fathers are genius. The only reason I bring this up is because there's been another interesting parallel for 2016. Because in 2012, Barack Obama ridiculed Mitt Romney on a debate stage for talking about the fact that Russia was probably one of our biggest geopolitical foes, and then went on in 2012 to ridicule him on Twitter, much like Donald Trump has been doing for the last few years on Twitter when he decided to run for president. But now all of a sudden, Obama, I guess, has decided Romney was right after all, and is taking this really big, hard stance about, Putin and supposed Russian hacking and all of the other craziness, and we're kicking diplomats that may or may not be spies out of our country, and we're doing this and we're doing that. Mr. Obama, the 80s have called, they want their foreign policy back.
Yeah, and the funny thing about everything is that they've basically come out today, late yesterday and today, and said that there is no evidence of any Russian hacking. So now the excuse is, well, they've been treating our diplomats in Russia terrible for 2 years. Okay, for 2 years. And you decide to do this 21 days before you're out of office. It's disruption. That's all it is. And people can sit there and say, and people are going, yeah, it's about time we did this. That's fine. It's about time we did this. It's bad timing. It's the wrong time to do it. It's the wrong way to do it because he wants to disrupt. And you know, he's had quite a week. He's thrown our biggest ally, one of our biggest allies, one of our best allies under the bus, and he's pissed off I'll call them a frenemy. He's pissed off Russia. So in his last 20 days in office, he is majorly pissed off two countries that have a lot to do with us. He's doing it out of petulance. That's what people need to understand. Whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, he's doing it out of pure petulance because his buddy Hillary didn't win and won't be continuing his agenda. So he wants everything to be as disruptive as possible. This next 20 days could be extremely interesting to see what else he does. It's all about disruption. He does not want a smooth transition. He wants to pile a bunch of crap on top of the new administration. That is his goal. He doesn't care about the country. He doesn't care about the people. He cares about himself and his agenda. That is all he cares about.
Yeah, and it's becoming more and more evident. Now we have the Democrats in Congress trying to find a way to save Obamacare, even though that's one of the reasons why they lost their majority in both houses and they lost the majority of the governorships across the country, was because Obamacare didn't work the way they said it was going to. And no matter how many times you try to put lipstick on a pig, at the end of the day, it's still lipstick on a pig, which is basically what Obamacare's turned into.
Yeah, and they're still trying to save it. At this point, if I can say that there's just a highlight, a real true highlight of 2016 is watching the Democrats bury themselves, and then to recover, they're just burying themselves. They're not seeing what has happened and correcting. They're staying the course. Let them. This is becoming, the one thing that I can pull from 2016 is watching them scramble and their heads explode and everything else, and they keep doing it. I said it on my Wednesday night show. Susan and I were talking about it. Actually, it wasn't even the Wednesday night show. It was when I did Jen and Rick with you and Jen. And Jen was making suggestions to the Democrats on what they could do to correct things. And I told her, I said, I'm glad nobody's listening. I just want them to stay the course. Keep doing what you're doing. Because they're just burying themselves further. They're taking every bad policy that caused them to lose this election, and they are doubling down on it.
And that's in essence what they're doing here. I mean, they are making Putin the boogeyman. It's not Hillary's fault that she lost because the Russians interfered with our election. But let's not forget that just going back to that last debate, when Donald Trump says, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, and Hillary said it would be un-American if he didn't accept the results, and Barack Obama standing over there telling everybody there's no way that our elections can be hacked, until Hillary lost, and now all of a sudden our elections have been hacked. Again, we've gone over this before, but for those of you that may be listening for the first time, what has happened here is not a hack. A hack, by definition, means that you're actually changing coding or part of a machine to make it do something different than the designer or programmer intended. That's what a hack is. This was a leak. This was a dissemination of information. However they obtained the information is still not entirely clear, But even the guys at WikiLeaks say over and over again it was not the Russians that did it. And again, why would the Russians need to do it when the majority of the information they pulled was from an unsecured server in a bathroom?
Exactly. There's a reason why WikiLeaks is called WikiLeaks. It's not WikiHacks. It's WikiLeaks. Their information, they pick it up from people that have access to it. People that have access to it aren't hacking. They have access to it. You know, if you have an unsecured server, it's not a hack. You don't have to hack into an unsecured server. It's there. It's there for the taking. You know, Hillary and her 12 lost BlackBerries. You lose a BlackBerry, somebody they can get into that BlackBerry. It's not really hacking. They have it. The information is there. They didn't hack it. They've got the information. You know, I just there were no Russian hacks. Nothing was hacked. Hillary's words, everybody's words are right there. That is what lost the election. You know, if you are worried about people finding out what you say, then maybe you should secure what you're saying.
Or even better, quit talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Yes.
Because you want to know what cost the Democrats the election? You want to know what cost the Democrats the House and the Senate? Do you want to know what cost the Democrats the majority of the governor's mansions in this country? It's the fact that people are starting to finally figure out that they have been talking out of both sides of their mouth. That's why I got so angry with the GOP this year, because all I keep hearing every time it's election time is we need to learn how to be more like the Democrats. No, we don't, because the Democrats have been doing this wrong for a very long time. It's just nobody noticed. Now they're finally starting to figure it out, and we're starting to emulate their behavior. Which means if we don't change things soon, eventually there's going to have to be another party that's going to rise up, because people are just going to stop voting for either the Democrats or the Republicans, because they're just going to realize that all they're going to keep doing is talking out of both sides of their mouth to tell you what it is that you need to hear to get you to pull the lever for whoever they want in there, and then they're going to go on and do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it, because we keep sending them in there. And that's been my complaint about a lot of this, because of the disconnect. Because if you look at the fact that the American public, on average, thinks that Jeffrey Dahmer is more popular than Congress, but when you ask them about their specific House of Representatives folks or their specific senators, oh, they're great, but everybody else sucks. How does that work? How can you have a government approval rating that is, you know, we think Congress is worse than a serial killer, but we still keep sending the same people in there? It's Einstein's definition of insanity. We keep doing the same things over and over and over again and expecting different results. And that's why a lot of people latched on to Donald Trump, because he's not a politician, or they didn't want to think that he was. I submit he's worse than a politician, because he's been one of the behind-the-scenes lobbyists in D.C. since the 80s. It's one of the reasons that I have been scared to death about putting somebody like him in the White House. But it happened, so now I get to buckle up and pray to God I was wrong. And that's what I'm going to be doing for most of the next 4 years. And if I see him screw up, then I'm going to call it. If I see he does something right, then I'm going to call it, because that's what I do. Just because I have a particular label or letter behind my name on my voter's registration card doesn't mean that I have to blindly follow party rhetoric. That is what a lot of the people that I grew up listening to on the radio told me that we should do, until it came time for them to do it, and then they blindly followed the R right off the cliff. I'm not going to be one of those people. Just saying.
No, and you know me, I'm not either. And you know, it's what kills me is, you know, we kind of touched on it earlier. I mean, I'll say something. I won't even say something positive about Trump. I'll just say something positive about conservatism in general now. And what I get from somebody on the left is, well, you're just a dumb Nazi Trumpkin. Really? Is that what I am? I'm a dumb Nazi Trumpkin because I'm a conservative. So now all conservatives, even though, I mean, what percentage voted against Trump in the primaries? We're all Trumpkins now. No, I'm not a Trumpkin. I'm not a Nazi. And
Wait.
on the other side of it, if I say anything against him, I'm just a crazy liberal.
So wait, you're not a Trumpkin? Does that mean you didn't get my Christmas present? I mean, I sent you a lifetime supply of Cheeto dust and an ugly orange wig. Did you not get it? Because I tried to make sure you got it. No, I'm just playing.
One thing that I will not deny, and I will not let this whole election cycle ruin, is God, I love Cheetos. I really, really do. One of my favorite snack foods. I'm not going to let this election ruin it.
There's
especially
a reason
especially
why
the jalapeno ones.
Well, there's a reason I started calling him Lord Cheesy Poof. I like Cheetos. I don't necessarily like the generic ones, so I figured I could call him Cheesy Poof and not ruin my love of Cheetos.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's so many there's so much craziness that came out of the last year. Just absolute craziness. And I mean, the Cheeto thing was kind of funny. I mean, literally, I think he's kind of gotten it under control a little bit, but literally the man was orange. He was freaking orange.
It depends on who you talk to, because some people were saying that it was TV stations doing filters and photographers doing filters, but then I'm wondering if somebody didn't start taking the filters in the other direction to make the orange go away. I'm not sure. It was still funny to me. But we are just about out of time, so I want to talk about one of the craziest things that I noticed for 2016, Bill Mitchell getting accolades for being right about this election. Really? I mean, and the thing about it is, if you look at the headline of the article, you think it's maybe satire or maybe a parody, but then you read it and it kind of sounds a little serious. So I'm not sure if they were kidding or not. Do we really have so many people on the right that have lost their minds that they've basically made a walking, talking parody of a talk show host the person of the year for being right on an election?
Well, if he's the person of the year, I am blocked by the person of the year, so that makes me kind of proud.
I'm not, but it's not for lack of trying.
I'm blocked. I was blocked on my old account, and it only took me 2 days to be blocked on my new account. So I mean, he's a elf. I mean, the stupid memes with, Viking Trump and his wife Melania, and he's a cartoon character. Bill Mitchell is a cartoon character, and it amazes me how many people take him absolutely serious. I really think he laughs about it. He must. He must sit at home and go, I cannot believe all of these suckers that really think I'm something real. He has to.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But believe it or not, we are nearly out of time. So why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio with me, and go ahead and plug Constitution and Culture too.
Oh, yeah, you can listen to myself and Susan Swift, who is at Real Susan Swift on Twitter, on Wednesday nights on Constitution and Culture. It's going great. We're 4 real good, solid shows in, and we're having a great time with it. It seems that everybody's enjoying it. And you can find me on Twitter. Man, I have to think about it now. At Daniel_KLRN. And on Facebook at Daniel Wright.
All right, and I, of course, am Rick Robinson. You can find me Sunday through Thursday. Now that the holidays are over, we'll be getting back onto the regular schedule. Sunday through Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern on America Off the Rails. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Jen and Rick Show. And Friday nights right here at 11 p.m. Eastern on Robinson and Wright. Normally 2 hours. We're doing a short show today. And then, of course, Saturday mornings I'm live on Finding Common Ground. That show will be a replay again for this week. My co-host is in Antigua, the little butthead. So we will not do a live show tomorrow, which is great because the wife is off for tomorrow anyway. So we're going to spend the day with grandkids running around like crazy and having fun. But again, this has been Robinson and Wright. We'll be back with you live again next week. Don't forget, tune in tomorrow night for a very special episode to close out 2017 with myself, the host of Jesse's POV, Jessica Sanders, and of course, my co-host right now, Mr. Dan Wright, and we will be actually doing an end-of-year show to close out tomorrow night, so make sure you tune in for that. If you're not doing anything better, I mean, you know, it's New Year's Eve, so I'm sure most of you have lives and parties to go to and things like that, but that's all right. That's why we have podcasts. We're out, folks. Have a great night. Take care. God bless.